Hi and welcome to Stella's Mezza. On today's episode, I want to show you how to make chocolate-dipped heart cookies. Now, these are very simple to make, and it's a wonderful gift to give your loved one on Valentine's Day. The ingredients are simple and few, and to begin with, I'm going to show you the equipment you need. I have there an electric mixer, and I have there a rubber spatula, silicone spatula. Now, in that large bowl, I have cream cheese and salt and butter. We're also going to be using some granulated sugar, an egg, pure vanilla extract, and I forgot to show the most important part, some all-purpose flour. All right, for the chocolate that we'll dip it into, we need some good quality chocolate, and I also use some butter-flavored shortening, okay? And that's a good chocolate I used. Anything special for your special somebody. All right, we're going to begin by creaming that butter, cream cheese, and sugar mixture, and I'm using my electric mixer. Now, if you have the elbow power, go ahead and use your hands to do this with a whisk or a wooden spoon. It'll take time, but the love is in the details. So whoever you're giving this to will appreciate the love that went into making them. So we're going to just cream that together, make sure it's nice and fluffy before we add our next ingredient. All right, now I'm going to add the egg into that mixture and give it a good mix. Make sure the egg is well incorporated into the mixture. Now, always turn your bowl as you do this if you're using an electric mixer, hand mixer, and also don't forget to scrape the sides of the bowl to make sure everything's well incorporated into the mix. All right. We're going to add our vanilla extract into the mixture, and you want to use a pure vanilla extract. And I added 2 teaspoonfuls of it into the mixture. Now, for all the ingredients used in this recipe, for the step-by-step instructions, including the pictures, please visit my blog. It's www.stellasmezza.blogspot.com. And I will include a direct link to this recipe at the bottom of the video so make sure to click on that, and it'll take you straight to the recipe on my blog. All right, now once that mixture is nice and creamy, just like this, see that? And make sure you take everything off the sides of that bowl, scrape it into the mixture. And once it's nice and creamy that way, we're going to move to the next step. All right, and another thing you will need is cling foil and a baking sheet, okay? And you'll need also some wax paper for this recipe. Now, there's that flour that I'd forgotten to mention earlier, but you definitely need that flour to make these cookies. Otherwise, you will not have cookies, but just some melted mess. Now, I want to add that in 3 parts into the mixture. Okay, and after you add each part, you go ahead and mix it. Don't overmix. Just mix until it comes together and there's not too much flour flying around. Now, I like to mix use the whisk for my electric mixer to mix it first before I turn it on, because I do not want to be covered in a cloud of flour. Okay, and also stop to scrape the sides of the bowl. That way all the flour is incorporated into that cookie dough. Just like I'm doing right there. Okay, now keep mixing the other flour into the dough. Now the dough will be sticky, as you can see here. So don't panic if you see that. Now you want to divide it into 2 and use that cling foil to cover it, like I did right there. And you want to make it into a disc. So you're going to cover it and then slightly flatten it with the palm of your hand. And you're going to keep it in the refrigerator from 3 hours to overnight. I left mine in the refrigerator overnight. And the next day, before I was ready to roll it out and cut it out, I went ahead and let it sit on the counter for 25 minutes. That way it softened up a little bit, okay? But you can put it in the refrigerator for 3 hours and then come back and start rolling it out. Now, to roll it out for this stage, you will need a rolling pin, and you'll need a cookie spatula. And also to cut them out, I'm using heart-shaped cookie cutters. And you will need that flour in there, and I'll show you why in a little bit, okay? So you want to and over there I have my baking sheet. I went ahead and covered it with parchment paper. Now you want to work with one disc of dough at a time. Now while you roll out this one disc of dough, the other one should be in the refrigerator, okay? Or it's going to soften up on you and it'll make it hard to roll out and cut up. So I'm just releasing that disc of dough from that cling foil, if it'll allow it. And then I slightly dusted my rolling surface with some all-purpose flour, and you're going to do the same for your rolling pin. You also want to dust your rolling pin with some flour. As you can see, it's firm, but still you could work with it. It's pliable. And there we add a little bit more all-purpose flour. Try not to put too much, and if you do put too much and there's some left on the cutouts of the cookies, just go ahead and use your hand or pastry brush to brush off any excess flour. And I like to start at the middle when my dough has come from the refrigerator. I start at the middle and I push it, I roll out, and I turn the disc of dough, okay, as I do this. And I use my hand to feel the surface of the dough to make sure there's no lumps and that there's no thicker parts than other parts, okay? Just use your hand to feel and see what needs to be rolled out. Now, I rolled my dough out to 1/4 inch in thickness, okay? And then from that point, we'll cut it up. We'll use cookie cutters to cut up the dough into the desired shapes. Today, I'm going to be making heart cookies, so I'm using heart-shaped cookie cutters for this job. Okay, so once you're happy with the texture of the dough, like the surface, there's no lumps, and it's nice and thin to 1/4 inch in thickness. See that? And then we're going to start cutting up our cookies. All right, now you want to dip your cookie cutter into flour. That way it does not stick on the dough as you cut it up. You see that? It's coated in flour. So you just want to press down, and if you like, you can wiggle slightly, but if you dust it with flour, it comes right off. All right, and then we're going to set it on that cookie sheet to your right-hand side, what I'm showing you right there. And you want to leave a space of about 1/2 inch to 1 inch between each cookie cutout. That way they don't touch as they bake. And you want to keep cutting until if there's no space, you run out of space. And then those scraps that you see over there that I'm pulling on, once I've cut out all the heart shapes, I'm going to roll them up together. Again, I'm going to gather them up together and I'll roll it out and make more cookies. Cut out more cookies with that. See that space? Make sure you leave space between the cookies. And at this time when you're doing all this, your oven is preheating at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And you want to bake the cookies. I've left all instructions on my blog. And you want to bake them until they're light golden brown on the edges, as you see right there. Once it's all baked and nice and brown to the edges like that, you see those are the scraps that I rolled out and cut up again. Those are going into the oven. Now you want to put your cookies on a cooling rack so that they're completely cool before you move on to the next step. And if you're using the same baking sheet, to make sure your baking sheet cools down completely before you put out another batch of cookies on it, or it's going to melt down completely. Now I went ahead and put wax paper, that's why it's so transparent, on that cookie sheet. And once we dip our cold cookies in our chocolate mixture, we're going to lay them on that wax paper so they don't stick. Now over there I have a spatula, and you can also use a wooden skewer to make it easy for you to decorate your cookies. Now in that little pan I have some butter flavored shortening, and I have the chocolate chips that I'd shown you earlier. We're going to melt that on very low heat on the stove, or you can also do it in a microwave safe bowl. Just microwave it in spurts of 30 seconds, and you want to stir each time. That way your chocolate does not burn, and you want to make sure it's nice and molten, just like I showed you in that bowl. See that? So what we're doing now is we're going to start dipping our cookies into that molten chocolate shortening mix. Okay, and I'm using a spoon to do this. You can use an offset spatula, or you can use a wooden skewer to do this. So you just want to dip it in there, and then whatever sharp point it has, which is the tip of the heart, you want to hold it facing down. And what I'm doing there is I'm holding that dipped chocolate up over the molten chocolate and letting the excess chocolate just drip down into the bowl. And to help it do so, I'm just slightly tapping my hand. Okay, that'll make sure any excess just drops back into the bowl, and that there's no chocolate parts of that cookie that are thickly covered in chocolate while other parts are lightly covered in it, whatever you dipped in there. So I'm just tapping my hand, and then I'm going to transfer the cookie onto that cookie baking sheet over there you see on your right hand side that's covered in wax paper. And then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, let the chocolate completely set before I pull it off that baking sheet. Okay, and once you're done, this is what they should look like. Now these are perfect to gift on Valentine's Day or any other day to the love of your life or whoever you find important in your life. A very simple gift to make, inexpensive, and it shows that some thought was put into making these. And over here, I have a nicely wrapped box that I'm going to put these in. Now you want to, if you're going to put them in a box or give them out, you want to separate them with layers of wax paper. That way they do not smudge. And as you can see, it's nice and just like a cookie should be. Well, thank you so much for joining me this time. Join me next time as I take your taste buds on another culinary safari. Karibu to Stella's Meza.